you, everybody. Oh my goodness. So I did a weird thing last year. It was not telling everyone I was a woman. That was the year before. Gotta find a new one every year. It's like a resolution, right? Keep it snappy, keep it fresh, keep alienating your friends. Let's go. No, last year I discarded my previously frozen reproductive material. Sperm, guys, I melted my sperm. Just making that clear, because that's a fluid my body used to produce, and can you tell how comfortable I am with this subject matter right now? Okay. Oh, we're gonna get through it. I had frozen my sperm because I was about to start hormone replacement therapy, and estrogen and a high sperm count are a little bit like business school and empathy. Like they don't go together. And it was my parents' idea, actually, which was odd. That was, like, I think the first time two atheist parents have ever encouraged their 21-year-old to reproduce. I was like, oh, interesting move from you two. Is this like a spite move or something? Like, you're just like, oh no, it's gonna be your turn one day. You try raising you, see how well that shit goes. We did our best! I have very kind and supportive parents, though, and they were very sweet about it. They said, like, look, thank you. They said, look, like, don't worry, we'll pay for it. We want that option to be available to you if you go that way in the future. And at the time, I wanted kids much less than I do now. Now I'm pretty open to the idea, but, like, you don't just give your kids your genetics, you give them, you. And none of who I am now or what I've experienced is in that frozen stuff. So I feel like making a kid with that would just be like, if your brother knocked up your girlfriend, you'd be like, it's kind of me, I guess. Which is not a great foundation for a relationship with a child, No good parenting ever happened on a technicality. But I didn't know I was going to end up feeling that way at the time, so I went for it. I said, sure. Made an appointment with the fertility clinic, and the result was one of the strangest mornings of my entire life. Because I walked in, and you picture a sperm donation center, you picture just like the worst place, right? Like it is a literal palace of cum, so you expect the interior to match, just like someone blew up an egg carton or something, I don't know. I walked into the nicest room I have ever seen in my life. It was like floor-to-ceiling windows, bamboo paneling, the whole 9 yards. It looked like where Google employees take naps. Like you could have opened a high-end dispensary in there tomorrow and nobody would have been able to know the difference. That was the vibe in there. So I sat down. It was just me in the lobby with 3 politely concerned older married couples. And just like, what are you doing in here? I was like, I'm not getting into it right now. That didn't last long, though, because a nurse called my name, led me down a hallway to what, unlike the lobby, was the saddest room I've ever seen in my life. It was completely empty, except for 2 things. First, just a visibly traumatized chair. And a mirror! A mirror, you guys! What? Why with the mirror? Like, is that just a kink thing for some people, or is that just additional punishment as part of the process? Like, you look up in the middle of the mirror, it's like, that's right, you're still here. This is where your life has led you. Enjoy. And then the nurse handed me an iPad with a screen protector, an important detail, and a little vial in which to, deposit. And when she handed me the vial, she said, make sure not to get any on the sides, as if what the situation called for was more pressure. It's like, thank you, note taken, I'm gonna go die now, thank you. I sat down in the sad chair and opened the iPad, and when I did, something miraculous happened, because the iPad opened to like the browser history, and you guys, none of the people who had been in there before me bothered to clear the search history on this thing. So the 15 minutes I spent in that room, you better believe I spent 12 of them just looking at what these idiots whacked off to. I learned so much. Noticed some trends. First off, a lot of MILF stuff makes sense. Aspirational, right? Trying to make your lady an M, get some MILF in there too while you're at it. Why not? There's also a lot of cream pie stuff, which I like to think wasn't even sexual for them. They were just like watching that to get psyched beforehand. It's like, oh yeah, that looks good, looks potent, nice high count, good load. I'd like to have one of those one day. That's the stuff. And And like in telling you all of this, I don't want to be like unnecessarily crass or anything. That's not the point. I just want you all to understand that this is something I, a human woman, had to experience. So like a while passed and the nurse knocked on the door. I was like, hey, everything going okay in there? I was like, oh, I'm having a great time. This is incredible. Learning so much. Teen stuff again. You're about to become a dad. Stop that. But I took the hint. I wrapped things up. I deposited. Then cleared the search history because I'm a goddamn professional. I walked out of there, vial in tow, and handed it back to the nurse. And I swear to God, she took it and held it up to the light and swirled it like a jizz sommelier. This is real, this happened. And then she looked back at me and went, good job. Which frankly at that point I kind of needed to hear. I was like, thank you, it's been a rough morning, I really appreciate the support. So that was a time. And then I walked out of there, and a year later called them and told them to dump that shit in an incinerator, and I have never felt more like a woman in my entire life.